until you show them yourself. The next day, Deborah still stood on the podium preparing for the upcoming act of self-defense. She looked suspiciously at William Demont, identifying him as the instigator of all this opposition. The girl immediately assumed that they were clearly going to embarrass her, since they had chosen such a spacious room for this. She was also surprised that they had called in all the important people, including the dean and his assistants. Deborah realized with annoyance that they had summoned all the important people, clearly intent on bringing about her downfall. To her surprise, their event was also attended by members of the Upsilon Club, which amazed everyone with their pomposity. She was especially impressed by the presence of Vivian Histek, who complimented the entire Imperial squad. She looked around the crowd again, trying to figure out what it was about all of this that caught their attention. William watched their appearance contentedly, knowing that if the Upsilon leadership said anything about the commission, it would have a great impact on social society. He joyfully responded to the man's call to start their competition. William explained the rules, saying that he would be writing down the solution while Miss Deborah was writing the answer at the same time. The girl stood thoughtfully next to him while he slowly wrote down the solution to the problem. He was forced to be distracted by how quickly the girl began to beat chalk on the blackboard, writing down the answer. His eyes popped out to his forehead as he saw the speed with which she was deciding everything. He felt true fear when she said with a smirk that she would have decided even faster, but her hands did not have time to write down. William immediately turned to the teacher, demanding confirmation of the correctness of this answer. After hesitating, the man made him even more surprised in his attempt to accept that she had decided everything right. Isidore watched all this with a smile, being sure all this time that she had not deceived anyone. Seeing his shock, Deborah smiled victoriously while mimicking William. Finally, she added a solution to each problem, asking them all what would happen next. Now that she had proven everything, Deborah demanded that he be held accountable for hurting her honor. Even after the brilliant proof, William still tried to question Deborah's knowledge and honesty. The examiner ordered him to watch his tongue when he suddenly accused her of using magic to deceive. Professor Kyle also did not stand aside and decided to attack the student, blaming him for the whole incident. Deborah was perplexed when she heard him threaten to forbid the instigator from attending his lectures, as if he hadn't humiliated her beforehand. Before he had time to finish the sentence, he immediately stopped when he heard a strict man call him by name. It turned out to be an enraged dean, who said that it was better for him to keep quiet than to say such stupid things. William finally fell into the sediment when he was promised to be severely punished for libel. The girl thought about it when she heard the request to demonstrate how she solved the problem so quickly. The dean was taken aback when she immediately answered the question with a question, asking why she suddenly had to tell this. Spreading her hands, she recalled that William wrote a petition without any evidence and was not accused of it. Everyone drooped when she deliberately pointed out that everyone only supported this unfair procedure, condemning it. Finally, the time had come for her plan to be carried out, as evidenced by the shining artifact in the girl's hand. Kyle was embarrassed when he realized that all his insults and accusations towards the girl had been written down, leaving him no chance. After fully demonstrating the recording, she turned off the artifact, lying that Belek had once given it to her. The professor sluggishly tried to say at least something in his defense when everyone condemned him for his obscene expressions. His colleagues expressed disappointment in his behavior towards Deborah, which was not professional. Everyone lowered their eyes in shame when she started talking about how she had been attacked by both students and professors, even though she had created a new formula. Deborah looked around thoughtfully, informing them that after such an attitude, she was not going to share her discovery. The dean and his assistants looked at the girl in surprise as she almost directly refused them. Everyone stared at Deborah in amazement, not believing that she was able to improve the formula that the Archmage and Dragon had come up with. She directly explained this by the fact that they are all too fixated on the foundations, when there is a way through which you can find the answer. The audience continued to whisper in shock, indignantly discussing the fact that this formula was perfect. In contrast, another professor repeated that she really solved them faster than anyone else and her discovery could be a breakthrough. Isidore continued to listen thoughtfully to their arguments, pondering the true impact of her discovery. Seeing their doubts, Deborah promised to dispel them by proving her innocence as they wished. Everyone was even more surprised when she announced that she was ready to reveal the formula that she had improved on her own. Remembering all the basics of the school curriculum, she nevertheless presented them with a few basic formulas that she uses. The opinions of those present were divided, as many still could not believe that it was really possible to solve the problem faster with her. After some time, they nevertheless realized the value of the girl's discovery and showered her with real applause. This was not the only thing that the girl prepared in order to defend her reputation, so she presented them with a witness. Stepping back, Deborah addressed the girl she had brought, calling her Aaron Oslot. William froze with fright when she said that she had accidentally overheard his conversation with the members of his club. Everyone froze with surprise when they heard that they had deliberately wanted to frame Miss Deborah, as they believed that there was no way she could prove her innocence. The final straw was the statement that they doubted the Duke of Seymour's qualifications and professionalism. Before Arena could finish, Deborah immediately ran into William Raymond, burning with anger. He looked at the girl in fright when she demanded to explain how he dared to use her to insult her father. Deborah's act of retaliation caused Isidore to smile sincerely, overflowing with pride in the girl. Unfortunately for William, he incurred not only the anger of the girl, but also the dean, who was burning with anger. When asked what she was up to, Deborah smiled slyly, promising to hold everyone accountable. By instilling fear, the girl implied everyone who was in any way involved in her condemnation and slander. This situation caused a stir not only within the academy, but also within the walls of the Mage Tower. All the Magi present were shocked that the flawless formula of the great Archmage Simeon had been improved. They themselves were convinced of the reliability of this discovery, since it greatly improved the speed of sorcery. Before they had time to rejoice at this epic-making discovery, another mage immediately burst into them, urging them to stop. They immediately asked a silent question when he ordered not to use the formula so rashly. Everyone was shocked to see the demand to stop using intellectual property due to copyright infringement. One of the requirements was a monthly payment giving permission to use the formula created by Deborah. The girl was so angry that she patented her invention, and also introduced a fine for using it without permission. They opened their mouths in surprise to learn that she had also banned the use of the formula by those who had insulted her and were involved in the trial. Meanwhile, Deborah was truly delighted to see how many appeals she received after the patent was introduced. She was even more pleased that in this way she provided herself with a constant income. Initially, she was not sure of her idea, so 3 weeks ago she turned to the master, who was already pretty tired of her. For some reason, he looked extremely tired, saying that her previous order had not yet been completed. Throwing a bag of coins on the table, she calmed him down, saying that she had not come to hurry him. The master beamed with joy as he picked up the bag of money, ready to help with her demand. She immediately asked if it was possible to have a monopoly on her invention by implying a patent. He explained that this is possible if she receives permission from the Ministry of Justice. Having listened to his story that he himself often files patents for his developments, she immediately asked about the cost. The master slyly stated that he was more interested not in jewelry, but in what exactly she wanted to patent. Deborah agreed to his condition, demanding the prior conclusion of a non-disclosure agreement. Using all his charm, he declared that if everything went smoothly with the patent, he would demand 20% of its proceeds. The girl looked furiously at the mage when he, sensing her dissatisfaction, tried to agree on 10%. Deborah's mood automatically changed when he also promised her the opportunity to purchase his products at a discount. The master was beside himself with shock when he heard that she had only perfected Simeon's formula and wanted to get a patent. He asked again if he had understood correctly what she meant, since he also did not believe in the changeability of this formula. The last straw was when the girl handed her a simple piece of paper, fraught with a hole opening for their magical world. Deborah chuckled when he called her magnificent, as he would never cease to amaze him. Hearing the words that she could not even control mana, the master seemed to be illuminated by the understanding of why she needed a patent. Pointing his finger at one of the formulas, he stated that it could be presented as a patent for mana conversion to make it work. The master saw her doubts and explained that mages can endow their mana with various properties. In an attempt to get his message across, he mentioned her father, who is known for his water and ice magic. Deborah was all ears when he said that her formula allowed her to speed up the creation of a spell and was suitable for the law. He also drew her attention to the problematic way of generating income from a patent. Deborah thought for a moment, realizing that if the mages were forced to pay her for each use, it would be a real problem. Finally, it came up with an even more surprising idea, which involves the introduction of a flat fee. She explained that the magician would pay her a certain amount every month for using the formula. The master never ceased to be amazed at the genius of her ideas, because in this case, this system can be made automatic. Grinning contentedly, she said that until a person decided to abandon the formula, the money would go to her. Realizing the simplicity and genius of this mechanism, the magician laughed loudly, causing Deborah's surprise. At first, she decided to put the price at 4 silver and 99 copper coins, so as not to run into a fine. In the end, they still agreed to raise the price to 8 silver coins, since mages are mostly well-to-do. He also recommended that she not publish all the formulas at once, but do it gradually in order to slightly increase the price. Deborah understood that thanks to the magician, she was able to quickly resolve her issue and get a stable source of income. However, she was surprised that instead of parties, she was invited to abstruse conferences. She turned to her assistant, ordering him to convey that she was in a positive mood for the conference. Deborah looked at him carefully as he said that Mrs. Helen had brought her dresses for the festival. She was so engrossed in all these proceedings that she completely forgot about the Spring Flower Festival. After some time, the girl was already sitting on the sofa, critically evaluating the options presented. Taught by bitter experience, Helen still felt afraid of the sophisticated Deborah, so she was very careful to show off her dresses. Looking at the ruffled pink dress, the girl honestly replied that this dress was not to her liking at all. She calmly explained that this marshmallow dress did not fit her style at all, as there were too many frills and bows. Helen honestly admitted that she relied on it to match the pink diamond, not her character. Deborah mentally agreed with her, realizing that originally this diamond was supposed to go to the pure and innocent Mia. She knew that if the dress was meant to be the backdrop for a pink diamond, it wouldn't suit her anyway. The girl exhaled when she heard Deborah's calm instructions instead of a huge scandal in her manner. Apologizing for the long wait, she left as quickly as she could. After saying goodbye to the designer, Deborah suddenly thought that the dress would be useless if she was alone at the ball. In the past, all this time, she tried to invite Philip, but each time it ended sadly. She was forced to tear herself away from her thoughts when she saw a servant carrying a massive chest in his hands. Deborah was in an unpleasant shock after reading the note from Louis Gazelle attached to this gift. The girl still restrained the entire range of unpleasant emotions when she saw the chest overflowing with a valuable pile of silver. Her love for money and precious metals still sparkled in her, so a cunning smile lit up Deborah's face. The servant was extremely surprised when she ordered him to put away the gift. The girl understood that such a stupor was associated with the expectation that she would throw away all the gifts with a scream, as befits her hot-tempered image. Deborah purposefully abandoned her previous pattern of behavior, realizing that it would be better for her to exchange all this for money. Meanwhile, Belek, who connected the girl with Louis, did not even know about her new decision. He asked again in surprise when he heard that his sister had not burned Louis's letter and had even accepted his gift. Belek clearly counted on her to throw away the chest with a fight, learning that it was not from Philip. The subordinate noticed his sad mood caused by Deborah's unpredictable behavior. Belek sadly noticed that such an ugly duckling from the Seymour family had suddenly invented an improved mana formula. He also knew that this formula could be especially useful for his main competitor, the battle mage Rosard. Holding his head wearily, he knew that he had probably already solved his mana problems and was more dangerous than ever. His henchman clearly did not understand the importance of her invention, so he only asked in surprise if it was so important. Belek ordered him not to interfere since he did not understand the true meaning and complexity of the situation. The next blow for him was that his father unexpectedly demanded to see him. In the end, he sat nervously in front of the Duke, burning with excitement. He could not even imagine that George would immediately turn his anger on him for trying to bring Deborah and Louis Gazelle together. Belek looked at the man in surprise when he assured him that she had accepted the gift so as not to harm his reputation. He angrily slammed the table when it said that he had done what he had to do and it was high time for Deborah to find a mate. George knew at once that he was trying to send her most distant lands into the clutches of such a villager. The guy tried to justify himself by saying that his family owns large silver mines, which can be profitable. The Duke glared at him coldly as he reminded him that the Duke himself had wanted to introduce Deborah to them. Belek remembered their conversation, where his father had told him to introduce her to someone else, since she was talking about Philip all the time. George cut it off, saying that he didn't need to get involved in her marriage anyway. Hearing his attempt to change his mind again, he told him to find an ice mage for her whose strength would surpass him. Belek was smitten on the spot, realizing that few people could be stronger than his father and this could be impossible. Gathering his strength and apologizing for his impudent behavior, he flew out of the office, trying to understand why his father was so soft. Deborah's brother was burning with anger, feeling heavy at the realization that it would only get worse. Meanwhile, the new training day at the academy was filled with new incidents that created a resonance. Louis, full of jewelry waiting for Deborah, did not even imagine that everyone was quietly laughing at him and not admiring. He proudly shouted that he was the real son of a silver mine owner named Louis Gazelle. Louis was alert when he noticed the approach of his object of desire. In front of him was the excellent Deborah, who instantly filled the entire space with her beauty. Passing by, she still lingered on the awkward suitor armed with a delicate bouquet of flowers. The girl felt a stupor when Louis tried to use all his charm, expressing the joy of the meeting. The man did not have time to raise his gaze as he was immediately sternly rejected, dropping the bouquet from his hands from her blow to him. He was truly taken aback when she bluntly stated that he looked extremely impudent and should not have appeared here. She immediately stunned him by telling him the name of his mother's maid, whom he cruelly offended and kicked out of the estate. Not wanting to answer the question of how she knew this, Deborah immediately continued to name the other affected girls. She said that the maids reported everything to her and offered to read their appeal right in front of everyone. Louis immediately timidly began to ask her not to do this, after which she nevertheless stated that she did not want to dig into this dirt. He turned white with fright when she also mentioned his illegal money fraud and tax evasion. Looking at the man slyly, Deborah gently hinted that if her brother or father found out about all this, then he would definitely be in trouble. Instantly imagining what this would entail, he bowed frightenedly, asking what she wanted for silence. Deborah's only wish was that he would never see her again and would not dare to appear in this part. Before she had time to count to 3, he immediately disappeared into space, running as far away from the girl as possible. After getting rid of the annoying gentleman, Deborah looked at the letter with apprehension, only guessing where the master could have gotten this information from.